1998 was the final year Japan hosted an exhibition race for the NASCAR Winston Cup series. This time, there was a twist. The race would be run on a 1.5-mile oval instead of the Suzuka circuit. This was a wild race that produced several big crashes and had an exciting finish. Right before we get into the race, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe so you never miss a video. Anyways, let's get right into it. Only 13 Winston Cup drivers made the trip to the Twin Ring Motegi Superspeedway, but drivers from lower divisions and 4 Japanese drivers brought the total to 31 entries. Jeremy Mayfield took pole position with the 1998 series champion Jeff Gordon starting alongside him. Dale Earnhardt Jr., who was behind the wheel of a Cup car for the first time, started 9th. Now let's get into the race.
For the first time outside of the United States, oval racing, NASCAR racing, here in Japan.
Mayfield jumped out to the early lead with Gordon and Mike Skinner behind him. On lap 3, Jeff Gordon made a pass for the lead. Jeff Burton also made a pass for third. Meanwhile, Dale Earnhardt was buried in the field after starting 15th. A couple laps later, Skinner came back at Burton and was able to get by. Mayfield was also able to get back to Gordon and eventually pass him for the race lead again, but Gordon wasn't letting him get away. In the middle of this battle, the first caution of the day came out on lap 7.
It takes a while for him to come in.
We got 2 in trouble down in turn number 3, where we thought we might have trouble. Indeed, there is. There you see the number 26 looping is Ron Burns, battered in the back end.
Ron Burns got the worst of it after making contact with Butch Gilliland. Burns was a 54-year-old racer who was just happy to be out there racing with his heroes, but unfortunately was involved in this early crash. Luckily, his team was able to make repairs and he would get back out on track later on. Jeremy Mayfield led the pack to green, but once again Gordon stayed on the back of him, while Rusty Wallace made a move on Skinner for 4th. Back up at the front, Mayfield fell to 3rd after both Gordon and Burton passed him. It seemed like the top 3 cars were dead even at this point. The top 3 cars completely separated themselves from the field as the battle for 4th started to heat up. Skinner was able to get by Wallace for 4th and was now looking to hunt down the front pack. At this point, there were 187 laps to go in the 201-lap race. The next lap, Jeff Burton made a move to the inside of Gordon and was able to lead for the first time all day. Mayfield followed Burton past Gordon on the inside. After a quick commercial break, the battle for the lead started to heat up.
Darrell Waltrip in 6. Dale Earnhardt Jr.
We got trouble straight away.
The 09, the Japanese driver in trouble. Motohiro Nakagi.
That's the second time he's been in trouble today.
Good night, Motohiro.
Right behind them, Japanese driver Motohiro Nakagi lost control of his car after being lapped and hit 3rd place runner Jeff Gordon. Gordon's damage was a lot worse than initially thought, with his entire right side caved in. They threw this graphic up during the broadcast, so let's take a second to appreciate how fast Gordon was as soon as he came into the sport. In his first 189 races, he had a winning percentage of over 22%. This is despite a winless rookie season. During the caution, Jeff Burton pitted so Skinner led the field to green, but had already lost the lead by the end of the backstretch. Gordon's car didn't seem too affected by the damage, still fighting near the top 5. Burton followed Gordon past Bobby Hamilton as they were both trying to march back up to the front, and then Burton was able to pass Gordon to slide into 4th. Jeff Burton continued his march forward, passing Sterling Marlin the next lap. Just like before, Gordon was able to follow Burton through as these two could not get away from each other. Coming back from a commercial break, Wakita blew up and brought out the 3rd caution. For the 2nd year in a row, he blew an engine in this event. On the restart, several cars got together after Ricky Craven had issues getting away. Dale Jr. was able to get by Darrell Waltrip, who was racing in the 88 in place of Dale Jarrett. Just a few laps later, one of the biggest incidents of the day happened.
To put stitches in Iverson. He said, I got him for 70 stitches. That's 7-0.
Oh,
Here we go.
Here comes some
Look out.
stitches.
Oh,
no.
man.
Oh.
Boom.
The 00 Toshiya. You could see him get in trouble, and then it was away to the wall.
Tachia lost control on the exit of turn 4 and was nailed by Gary Smith. Both would be done for the day. Now, 3 of the 4 Japanese drivers were out of the race. Skinner led the field to green. Rusty Wallace was able to get by Gordon for 4th, and in the next lap Mayfield was able to challenge for the lead and eventually got by. About 5 laps later, the caution was out again. Once again, it was for Ron Burns, who left some debris on the track after leaving the garage. Under this caution, everyone decided to pit, and it really mixed up the field. Rusty Wallace won the battle off pit road, with Skinner behind him, followed by Dell Jr., Jeff Burton, and Dell Sr. Jeff Gordon and Jeremy Mayfield were back down in 7th and 8th respectively. It was a pretty tame restart compared to the last few, but there was still a fight for the lead and 3rd. Skinner was able to take control of the lead, and Jr. was able to move into 2nd place. The next lap, Burton was able to get by Jr., as 4 drivers were nose to tail for 2nd place. Jeff Gordon and Jr. had a wild fight for 3rd, but unfortunately Jr. would get hung out on the outside and lose the position. Sr. was relevant for the first time all race after passing Wallace and was now only a couple places behind his son. We were finally able to catch our breath because of another caution, but unfortunately it was at the expense of DW.
Trouble. Oh, we got trouble in turn 4. Stash one of the wall. Waltrip, the 88.
Cars on high side the wall.
Darrell Waltrip.
Darrell Waltrip in the Robert Yates, number 88.
Waltrip was in the best equipment he had been in for years, and it felt like he could win the race. He hadn't won a race since 1992, and had a miserable 98 season, scoring only 2 top 10s the entire year. Skinner maintained the lead, but Burton was all over the back of him, while Jr. was passed by Wallace for 5th. The next lap, Burton and Gordon flew past Skinner. Gordon's car only seemed to get faster with the damage. Behind them, Jr. and Sr. fought side by side for nearly a lap, with Jr. prevailing. At the same time, Gordon finally took control of the race again. What a wild race, and it's just the halfway point. The battle for 6th between father and son continued for several laps, but Sr. wasn't able to make a move. At this point, there were still 105 laps in the race. Surprise, surprise, another lead change. This time it was Burton who breezed past Gordon. Things really started to settle down, so we'll jump ahead 30 laps later to green flag pit stops. The cycle started with Jr. being the first to pit. Right before the leaders came to pit, Mike Skinner was able to get around Burton for 2nd place. For one of the few times today, a driver made a pass on the outside lane. The next lap, Gordon, Wallace, and Burton all came to pit road. It would be another 2 laps before Skinner came to pit road. After the pit cycled through, Skinner came out on top, followed by Gordon and Burton. Now, there were just 60 laps to go. Not much really happened until the 7th caution of the day about 15 laps later. Again, this was for Ron Burns. Under caution, the top 3 stayed out while Rusty Wallace and Dell Jr. pitted. Only a handful of other drivers came down. There were now a lot of lapped cars, making for an exciting restart. Michael Waltrip, who was lapped down, raced Gordon for an entire lap trying to catch Skinner to get back on the lead lap. Unlike previous restarts, Gordon wasn't able to challenge Skinner or even stay on the back of him. It was clear Mike had the best car. Although he had never won a points-paying race, Skinner was widely respected for his Truck Series career. A few laps later, Jeff Burton was able to take 2nd place and was now pushing to catch up to the leader. Now, getting into the closing stages of the race, Burton was closing in on Skinner and closing fast. Coming back from a commercial break, a horrific scene was on full display. Brennan Gaughan and Bobby Hamilton had a massive wreck. Gaughan's car was on fire and was luckily able to get out under his own power. The 23-year-old was racing in the Winston West Series at this point in his career and was able to race a couple truck races in 98 and 99. The next year in 2000 was Gaughan's breakout year, winning the Winston West Championship and actually won the 2001 championship as well. Replays showed Gaughan running from his car on fire to check on Hamilton.
For maybe 15-20 seconds before he clambered out. We hadn't seen Bobby Hamilton move until right there as he came around.
With 5 laps to go, the race resumed. Luckily for Skinner, Gordon and Burton battled behind him so he could extend his lead. With 2 laps to go, Gordon was all over the back of Skinner. He had a small look to the inside on the exit of turn 4, but couldn't really attempt to make a move. On the final lap, Gordon was able to get within a foot of Skinner, but didn't use his bumper as Mike Skinner took his first victory of his Winston Cup career. Although a non-points paying race, this was also Larry McReynolds' final win as a crew chief. As for Skinner, he wouldn't ever win a points paying cup race, as 1999 would be his most competitive year, finishing 10th in points with 5 top 5s and 14 top 10s. After his cup career started to fade and old age started to creep up on him, he dropped back down to the Truck Series in 2005 and went on to race 6 more full seasons and picking up 12 more wins. In his 2007 season, he won a ridiculous 11 poles and finished the season with a 2.5 average finish. As for Japan, the NASCAR Cup Series didn't return after this year and may never go back. The Winston West Series held a race at Motegi in 1999 as their season finale. Unfortunately, due to the transportation costs, poor attendance, and NASCAR's contract with Japan expiring anyway, it didn't make much financial sense to make a return. However, Motegi Superspeedway held an IndyCar race from 1998 all the way up to 2011. Anyways guys, I hope you did enjoy this video. I had a lot of fun making it and looking into this race, so if there's any more races you want me to check out, let me know in the comments below. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe so you never miss a video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.